Hello to all of you. I'm Azar Alizadeh, and thank you for watching Interfaith Odyssey. We are always here with all our wonderful friends from different faiths. And before we start with the topic, I'd like to introduce them to you. And they are Rabbi David Nelson from the Jewish religion, Dr. Curtis Russell from the Baha'i religion, Mr. Jerry Cleland from Native American faith, Mr. Gupta from Hindu religion, Father Roach from the Christian religion, and Ms. Ramin Singh from the Sikh religion. Thank you for being here. It's always nice to have you here and listen to you. Today we are going to talk about one of the person that is one of my heroes, and that is Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King. We want to know that what you think about him, and if he have an impact to other religion besides his own religion, because his quotations and his words really touched many, many people in the whole world, and he was a gift for us. And we want to know what you think, especially we know right now is his birthday soon. So we start with Dr. Curtis Russell.
Well, this is a wonderful topic, and just so happy to be able to participate in a program like this. Clearly, Dr. King's life and work supported and embodied a number of principles revealed by Baha'u'llah, the founder of the Baha'i faith, and which in English means the glory of God. Particularly, Dr. King's work embodied the principle of the oneness of humanity, the fact that all people everywhere are human beings, human souls, and for that reason alone are infinitely lovable. His work in the interest of social justice is also a very important principle in the Baha'i faith. Baha'u'llah simply said that the purpose of justice is the appearance of unity amongst men. He also said that the peace and tranquility of the human race are impossible unless and until it becomes unified. So with those two statements, we actually have a theory of peace, namely justice produces unity. Unity is an essential characteristic of a peaceful world. And this is something that Dr. King certainly worked toward in his ministry and his career. He also championed the idea that ethical behavior must be based upon principle, not simply upon what makes me feel good or what might be convenient at the moment. It needs to be based upon principle. At least it seems like his favorite public example was that if we really believe, as the Declaration of Independence says, that all men are created equal, then segregation is wrong and integration is right. So that we're talking then about the connection between principle and behavior. I know he sometimes commented concerning the role of the churches that the most segregated time of the week was 11 o'clock on Sunday morning. His pithy way of expressing his own view of the conduct of American society. So that all of these different principles then were embodied in Dr. King's work. I can tell you personally that visiting the Martin Luther King Center in Atlanta, which my wife and I did this last year, and this is the center that's operated by the National Park Service, and I would certainly recommend it to our viewers, that while going through that center, I had the feeling that I was standing on sacred ground because of the nature of what Dr. King had done, of what the civil rights movement had stood for, and the various principles of the Baha'i faith that I've just listed that were embodied and again supported by Dr. King in his work. I got a very similar sense in that center as I had when my wife and I, about 2 years earlier, had visited the Battle of Gettysburg, the Gettysburg battlefield in southern Pennsylvania. As you can tell, we are American history buffs, and it was really quite something to visit those places.
Thank you very much, Dr. Russell.